Everybody's different, and I'm sure that you and I are different in who we've known and who we've been and so forth. I've never been a person who saw a need for guns in my house, and as a result, I've never had any. And I'll tell you right now, for me personally, if I had guns in my house, because I'm not typically using them for protection, I would probably lock them away in a safe somewhere rather than leave them anywhere exposed, whether or not they were loaded. And of course, if I'm not using them for protection, you can pretty much assume that I'm going to leave ammunition maybe near the gun or in a place where I could get at it. But I'm not going to leave the gun loaded. It makes no sense to do that. And of course, anytime you handle a gun, you should be checking the gun to ensure that it is not loaded, and you should never point a gun at anything, as Tim Pool says, you're not intending to destroy. I would add any person you're not intending to kill, and you should be looking what's behind your gun with the idea that a projectile might go through whatever it hits and hit something else, and that's obviously a concern. I've known some people who were vehemently against guns. I've known other individuals who were more or less gun crazy, but not in the sense that they always had a gun on or around them. They might have a collection or whatever of guns. They might know a lot about them. I don't know a ton about guns. I know enough. I fired M16 in the military, and I've had minor exposure to that sort of thing otherwise. I've known people who did concealed carry. But today I wanted to talk on the subject of gun safety on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Friday, the 19th of November of 2021. Thank you for everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast on YouTube. Welcome aboard today. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform, and today I'm going to talk about the subject of gun safety. Let me go ahead and go through my notes real quick, and then I will go ahead and give more of my sort of 2 cents about the whole thing. Who do you trust with a gun? For me, there's almost nobody I trust more than people carrying legally. Such people have almost invariably been through training, required or not. Often their families have been proponents of gun ownership for generations. The result is that most such people have been trained from a young age that guns are nothing with which to trifle. In their family and if their family and friends, are good people, and I would argue they often are, they have been taught, if nothing else, that once a life is taken, it's gone, never to return. And by the way, I might add that that's for animals as much as it's for people. Many such people are or have been raised by hunters. Most hunters, there are exceptions of course, will not kill an animal without good cause. There are sport hunters, and I grant you that. But most people are not in that realm. Most hunters are not in that realm. Most will either kill things they intend to eat, or that they can donate to entities that will use them to feed people in need. There's a Hunters Feeding the Hungry, I think it is, here in the local area, and they do that very thing. What I'm getting at here is not complicated. When responsible people own guns, it generally proves to be anything but problematic. Sorry, lost my place there for a second. I want to make something plain here. I don't care if the folks in question are black or white, from India, Asian, whatever, African, whatever. I don't care where they're from, European, whatever, or from anywhere else in the world, which is how I would put that last part that I did there. If they're the kinds of folks you would be happy to have as a responsible, trustworthy neighbor, chances are you'll never know they're a gun owner unless and until there's an emergent situation, if then. If you honestly believe legal gun owners, even in constitutional carry regions, are a problem, I seriously doubt you've ever looked at the available statistical data. More than one liberal person of whom I'm aware has gone looking to prove that the kind of thing I'm saying is untrue or incorrect, only to be converted by the virtue of the reality the numbers present. I have yet to hear an example of someone who hasn't at least walked away from the discussion realizing their perspective was broken when they started out with a take the guns from those in legal possession way of looking at things, then done their own unbiased, impartial research. What's the most important aspect of gun safety in my view? You're going to think this is strange maybe, but after bringing up reasonable human beings, that's the first thing, that would be getting guns out of the hands of people who are intent on abusing them. That's no mean feat. Probably 90 to 95% of the time, that's not those who choose to legally possess firearms, though. All right, now let's get on with this, obviously. Look, I can't think, and maybe you can, of a single individual that I've known who was a legal gun owner who I did not trust almost implicitly, almost completely, maybe completely, with a gun. Now, I can tell you that if I saw somebody pointing a gun at somebody, whether it was supposed to have a round chambered or be unloaded or whatever, I would probably trust that person less. But I'm here to tell you that most of the people I know that are legal owners of guns would never, never, never have thought of pointing one at an individual who, or at any individual that they weren't intending to kill. And you have to know that for the most part that means they wouldn't point it at anyone because they weren't intending to kill anyone. Most of the legal gun owners I have known, and you can find exceptions. There was a guy, the guy in Nevada or wherever, who had the bump stocks and all of that, and set out to create mayhem, right, to kill people and so forth. There are people like that you will find periodically, even among those who are legal gun owners. I don't know if his guns were legal. I never did bother to do the research, so I can't say whether or not in his case they were legal. My point, though, is to say almost all of the people I know who legally own guns are not a concern to me. I look at people who you suddenly see that shine of a handgun, pistol, right, stuffed in hastily into the back of their pants and covered by their shirt. And you know that person's not a legal owner of that gun. That person scares me, because that person probably put the gun there with the intent of doing some kind of harm or something illegal. Right? But when you talk about most legal owners, they're not going to stuff a gun in the waistband of their pants. They're going to have a holster, a concealed carry holster of some sort if they're carrying a handgun. If they're going out hunting, they're going to probably have their gun locked in a case until they're ready to use it to go and hunt. Most reasonable owners of firearms, most legal owners of firearms, are not a concern where gun safety is, what I'm thinking about. They're just not a concern for me. It's the people who wield guns like, they have a business doing so in circumstances where they shouldn't, who will point guns at people, who will chamber rounds without whether or not they have an intent to actually use the gun at that moment in time. These people scare me. I have a relative, you could say, sort of an odd sort of a situation, but we don't need to get into details. And he had guns in his bedside table or whatever, and he would walk to his front door with guns. He concerned me a little bit because he wasn't always what I would consider the most mentally stable human being in the world. Even for him, I had less concern than illegal owners, than people who would carry illegally. And I have another relative, and he was a police officer, and I think is now working in federal law enforcement of one kind or another. And that guy, even though he literally had a gun when he answered his door the one time that I went to visit his house, I had zero concern about being harmed, because he wasn't the guy who was going to shoot first and ask questions later. He was going to scope the situation out, figure out what was going on, and deal with the situation in a reasonable way. So as a general thing, I don't worry about gun safety where legal owners are concerned. Now, I'm running over again today because I'm spending a little bit too much time on the details. I need to go ahead and wrap things up. Let me go ahead and do that. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Friday, the 19th of November of 2021. That means tomorrow will be, so basically it's the beginning of the Sabbath at sundown today for those who observe the Sabbath. That means tomorrow, Saturday, the 20th of November of 2021, will be the remainder of the Sabbath until sundown on Saturday. Hope you have a good Sabbath if you're a observer or a celebrant of the Sabbath. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. You can give me a boxing glove or a plus sign on Rumble if you want to tell me that I'm doing okay. You can give me a minus sign if you don't think I'm doing quite so well and you want to give me an idea that that's the case. You can give me a thumbs up on YouTube for that same purpose, and you can give me, that is to say I'm doing good. You can give me a thumbs down if you think that I'm not. Remember that you can comment on any platform where I put my content, and I will do everything that I can to pay attention to what you've had to say. Subject for today has been gun safety, and tomorrow we're going to talk on the subject of role model. I've been doing a lot of cultural stuff recently, and I think that that's an important thing considering where we are as a society at this moment in time. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you. Hope you're getting ready to move ever closer to that weekend. For those of you that work on the weekend, thank you for doing that. I promise I will probably avail myself of some such people's services, and I appreciate their being there, and I would say the same for you if you do that same thing. Again, hope things are going well for you. Hope you have a good day, and hopefully we will see you again on Saturday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Friday, November 19th of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that, and you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.